Hello there, my name is Bonnie Violet, and in case you don't know where you are, this is Dragon Spirituality. Our guest this evening is originally from Garden Grove, California, near Anaheim, and first moved to San Francisco in 2004. Her spirituality stems from her Jewish upbringing and principles that she's learned about in recovery. She finds it interesting to speak about spirituality, especially as a liberal queer Jew in recovery. She finds it refreshing to see that the concept of God and powers beyond are not exclusive to the likes of the Grahams, GOP, and Hobby Lobby. She also says she has learned a lot that needs to be unlearned. This is Menorah Manischevitz. Oh my gosh, I love me some Menorah.
Thank you, Bonnie. I love you too.
I always love when I hear you getting called on to be on stage because I never know what you're going to do, and you never disappoint. The first time I watched this, I remember thinking, like, there's something wrong with the camera or whatever. And then last night I watched it and I just laughed my ass off for like ridiculous. So good. How was that for you to make that?
It was a lot of fun. I was sheltering in place in Southern California with my family for some time, and I got to involve my sisters and family in the making of that film and another one. And so it was just really nice to get to see them do it, and like to see them and being involved in and having them seeing what I do and also just like learning a whole new medium of performing with music videos.
Yeah, with Shelter in Place, it's really challenged a lot of us to figure out a new way to create our art. And I really enjoy how you've been able to translate what you do stage onto the video. I was like, process wise, do you just kind of like make it up as you go, or do you have it like all planned out?
When it comes to the music videos, I'm kind of going more with an idea of what I want to do. I might break a song down into segments and what actions I want to see. That's a big difference because usually it's the opposite where I go pick a song and then I'll just do a little bit of planning and then a lot of improvisation on the day of.
Gotcha. Yeah, whatever you're doing, it's fantastic.
Thanks.
I wanted to tell us a little bit about your name and how you came up with it.
Well, it's from a colleague. He kind of got me into really into the drag scene of San Francisco initially. And he was at the time really involved with the Ducal Council, and he was my colleague, and like we both connected immediately because we're both two big queens from Orange County, and we were both working in the same classroom, and I joked him that maybe I should do drag one day, and he was like, "What would that be, Menorah?" And then a few years later, I was thinking more and more about like, maybe I should try drag. And I was thinking of like different names because I wanted to have something kind of Jewish sounding or something Jewish sounding. And I was like, no, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to know if I want to do anything Holocaust related. So, but I was like, Menorah would be a good drag name. I could see people like naming their daughters Menorah. It's like a Manischevitz. And then I was like, ooh, Manischevitz. That's like every Jewish family in this country pretty much knows what Manischevitz is. Like you ask a Jewish family, they'll be like, yeah, Manischevitz. Like, oh, do you mean the wine or the matzah or the gefilte fish?
Yeah, definitely. When you hear it, like I'm not Jewish, but I definitely hear it. I'm like, that's Jewish. What made you think to like? I think for sometimes people, I think some people kind of see like their spirituality, their religion, maybe other traditions don't really mesh with drag. Was that ever a thing for you, or have you always seen them as kind of intermixed?
Mean spirituality and drag?
Yeah, or even just like being Jewish. How has that impacted your drag? Or
I guess I don't know. I don't know, maybe, I mean, I guess I'm just like putting out my sense of humor and my sense of my, and like what I kind of am thinking of when I'm creating something.
Mhm.
I guess I am not a particularly religious person. I've tried being, but I do get a strong sense of connection when it comes to celebrating Jewish holidays and being with family around Jewish holidays. Like that is important to me.
Mhm.
Um, for me, though, the spirituality really comes in um, when it's like I make a connection about something that I've been wanting to do, and then I realize that, oh my God, I'm actually doing it. I've been a theater person for a very long time, and I was a theater geek. I became a theater geek basically when I first watched The Sound of Music and in chorus, and like Sound of Music was to me was the gateway. That was the gateway show for me, and I was never into sports. I mean, I'm growing up like all the boys they could like name the current players of the Anaheim Angels. That's the team I grew up around, and I couldn't. I mean, I could name the original cast of The Sound of Music from the Broadway play,
Mhm.
but you ask me a question about sports, I'd be like, I don't know.
Right.
Um, and so, I mean, I did theater from about the time I was 13, all through college, and I got my bachelor's in theater. Then once I graduated, I thought that meant theater was going to end because I was planning on joining the Peace Corps right after college, and I didn't end well for me there. I was there for about 4 months, and it was devastating. It kind of felt like this sense of loss because I not only was I out of the Peace Corps, but I also like I lost the theater. I felt like I lost the theater part, and also I was back in Orange County, and that was also really hard because it really felt
Mhm.
like I had really grown and came into my own and was starting to come into my own in San Francisco. And I really struggled with trying to get back into doing theater because that was such a huge creative outlet. And, it kind of feels like if you're a creative person and an artistic person, that when you don't have a platform for letting that out, it almost feels like it just kind of stays inside you and it doesn't feel very good until you get
Yeah.
it out.
Right. Like, yeah, I hear a lot of people talk about that. Like they kind of work through certain experiences or
Right.
emotion,
Mm-hmm.
tell stories. Is that what it's like for you?
Um, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of, sharing my experiences, but also kind of like having this vision of what I would like to see. With drag a lot, it's become this sense of seeing a topic happening, like the current situation we're in. Like there are a lot of ideas coming around that I would like to try out. But also I'll hear a song and I'll attach it to a story, and it's like I have my attitude is that for every song that's out there, there's over 100 stories that could be told with it,
Right.
and
Have,
um,
have you always been so fearless? I feel like you're such a like I feel like you have no anxiety, like you just like brave as fuck and you just go out there. I don't know. Like I get so nervous no matter what, but it seems like you're just fearless. Have you always been that way?
no,
Or
I'm a very shy and quiet person. Um, like when I'm on stage, there's a sense of freedom that comes out, whether I'm acting in a play or performing in drag. There's a sense of freedom that I feel like I get to express that I wouldn't normally express as Joshua Rosen. Um,
and has any of that kind of, since you've done drag, has any of that affected Joshua Rosen and kind of like the day to day?
um, I think so. I mean, I think for me, part of my coming into drag was a lot was through my experience with recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I started doing drag again, it was about 8 years since I last did a theater project. Outside of work, I work in special education, and and I'm the go-to theater person, but it's not the same as when you're creating your own theater for yourself and outside of work.
And for folks who may not be aware, do you mind talking a little bit about recovery and what that means for you?
Yeah, for me, I'm in my primary recovery is around an eating disorder I have. And that really led me to a lot of isolation and feelings of despair. And and losing, for me, the loss of the theater was really hard. And so I'm in a program, and I was working with somebody who was my mentor in the program, and she suggested that I should try it out. And we started doing karaoke, and I was using Menorah at first, and then a colleague came in, and she was a drag queen, and she introduced me to the show that was at the set called Try Something. And I tried it out, and I was able to perform it a couple of times, and for me, doing drag has kind of like been a reconnection to letting out my creative side again and bringing out the theater. And in many ways, doing drag has kind of let me do a kind of theater that I've always wanted to do, but now I'm really able to bring that out. And I love satire. I love the dramatics and the theatrics. I love color.
And are you saying that drag is kind of part of your, I guess, your regimen in recovery? Like it's part of your your treatment plan, if you will? I don't know if that's what to say.
It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like rediscovering a part of me that I thought I lost, and also finding out that there are things I never knew were there.
Right. Are there things in like with theater? What's I guess the difference between like theater, being in the theater scene, and then like doing drag? Is there a difference? Is it the same?
I feel like there's a lot of overlap. Theater is such a broad thing. I mean, theater can literally be just going up on stage and doing this, but it's not always rehearsing and performing a 3-hour play. It's all kinds of things. It's a combination of how you use the space and also creating the character and also the expressions and storyline. And it can be as conventional or as weird and confusing as you make it.
Right. So yeah, what would you say your overall mission is with drag for the audience? Like what is your hope that they get?
Does
it change?
It changes. It really changes on the venue, or what the storyline or what the theme is. Like when I do mascara, my thing is I want to entertain people. I want them to be out here entertaining themselves, staying sober. I like to entertain people, and I also want to make sure I'm also entertaining myself.
Mm-hmm. For folks who go ahead.
I'm kind of like, okay, this sounds like fun. How do I make this more interesting? Because I don't want to be on stage and then be bored with the song or number I'm doing.
Right. And for folks who are watching who may not be aware of Mascara is a monthly drag show that happens for the recovery community. It's a sober drag show. Most of the drag artists are sober, but not always. And it happens once a month, and it raises money for the Castro Country Club, which is located in the Castro. It's a good place to go get coffee and meet with other people who are trying to recover from drugs, alcohol, eating disorders, codependency, all that fun stuff that we sometimes often need support in kind of dealing with. It's like, I know for me, I'm also in recovery as well. And, when I'm when I'm alone, like that's like, I mean, I'm good with alone time, but it's helpful to know that there's other people that are kind of going through a similar situation than I have, and maybe even are further along. For those who are watching as well, feel free to in the comments. We'd love to get some questions. If you have some questions or comments that you'd like to share, we'll take a little bit of time and answer some of those questions as well. We have someone who's personing the Facebook messaging and can let us know if there are any questions. All right, so haven't seen any questions quite yet. Thank you so much for what made you decide to say yes for this?
Well, I was kind of curious. I saw the live version when we went back in May last year when you had Land O'Lakes, Saluta, Islam, and one other person whose name I can't remember.
Yeah, Mirza. Mirza Madre, who did that.
Yeah, and I just thought it was so cool as I've seen people interviewing drag performers with such diverse spiritual backgrounds and pathways.
Yeah, that was such a fun time. That ended up being so much dynamic and interesting than I ever would have imagined. And you were a big part of that. I appreciate you came and you dressed up and you greeted people and welcomed people, and all that stuff I think just added to making the experience so much more full of life than I could have ever even imagined. And it definitely sparked the idea of doing this year. And then we're going to be doing a similar event on August 16th to kind of seal these conversations. And so there'll be a similar kind of performance that'll take place.
Oh, excellent. I can't wait.
Right? So what are you looking forward to? What do you have on your schedule coming up?
Well, right now I'm working remotely with work, and in terms of drag topics coming up, I'm going to do another mascara show, and I'm also doing a variety show for a recovery related conference happening in August.
Awesome.
And currently I'm taking a class on anti-racism this summer to learn more about it, because I mean there was right after George Floyd's murder, I found that there were a lot of things I did not understand that I kind of had an idea that there was something up, but I couldn't figure out how deep it was, even though it felt like there was something really deep going on in this country that I didn't fully comprehend.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are kind of, having a deeper awakening. I think even those who were kind of felt like they understood a little bit are like, just seeing everything at such a deeper level. And it sounds like you're getting educated. What are some other ways that you've kind of responded to this time? Do you feel it's important to respond?
I think absolutely. I think it's important to, if you have the money to be able to donate, to be in contact, to have to talk to other people about this. Also, if you don't understand, there are some amazing books out there, and also some amazing research that's just in plain sight. The Wikipedia page is full of a lot of information. Sometimes it's a little questionable, but for the most part, it's out there and it is available.
There's so much information, and the more I dig, it's the information. A lot of the information has been there for so long. It's it's not new. It's new that some people are finding out about it, and I love that a lot of the drag community is also like Bob the Drag Queen and Peppermint. They've done some great stuff. Lucy Stool in Chicago, they've kind of taken on racism within the entertainment scene there, and that kind of can go. Yeah. One of the questions that came across asked Is there a difference between drag in Orange County versus the Bay Area?
That's a very good question. I didn't know. I got my drag career started in San Francisco, and I mean, it seems like there's a very decent sized LGBT community in Orange County. I didn't really get comfortable as a gay man myself until I was back in Orange County, and right after the Peace Corps, and I started to form a group of friendships with men at this men's group meeting, and finding out that the gay scene in Orange County was a little bit smaller, but still pretty strong. There weren't that many drag shows when I was there 10 years ago, but there have become more drag shows, and there's a lot of drag and LGBT organizations out there in Orange County.
Fantastic. And one other question: in your experience, has the Jewish community been accepting of you as a drag artist, or drag artists in general?
Yeah, I mean, I was raised in Reform Judaism, which is very LGBT friendly. I mean, it wasn't always that. I mean, at one point when I was 18, the rabbi who was leading my confirmation class said that same-sex relationships was not within biblical terms. But then 3 years later, the head rabbi, who was a different woman, who was a different person, Rabbi Heidi Cohen, she did explain to some children when I was a camp counselor at our temple summer camp that it was okay for gay people to be a couple. And it was a very different message than what I got when I was 16. Mm-hmm. And
so you'd say it's better now, or?
It is better. I mean, it's still got a long way to go. I do have some moments where I'm a little questioning about treating gay people sometimes in different groups as almost like commodities and tokens.
Uh-huh.
But I feel like maybe that's just something that happens in every organization. If you're kind of like fall out of the normative story.
Seems like it's part of the process, but again, it's like not a space of like really taking ownership and really creating space that, right, that's welcoming and inviting for folks. But that there's progress. One of the questions comes from Karen. She asked, what do you not like about drag, if there is anything?
I guess some things I'm not crazy about is the sense that if your makeup is not perfect, if you color outside the lines a little bit, I'm not exactly the most beautiful drag makeup artist, and I do feel like that does get in the way. And I mean, RuPaul's Drag Race, like where every drag queen looks like they woke up like that,
right,
is amazing. But that's a minority. I mean, that's a small group of drag queens. Like, that's not how most drag queens are. Most drag queens I know are working a 9-to-5 job, are doing this on the side. And the ones that I mean, I don't even know how some drag queens are able to work a full-time job with a career and then have a whole another career as a drag performer. I don't understand it. Yeah. I feel like for me, like working, like my job doesn't allow me to put as much time, I think, into my makeup, but also I think maybe my makeup is as far as it goes. Like, this is what it is, and I have been told that I need that if I want to get into one show, that I'd have to really step up my makeup game, and I don't know if that's a reality. I mean, I'd rather look like this and get what I can get in terms of gigs versus hiring someone to do my face for me so I could meet the standards.
Right. I mean, you are such a talented like performer. Like, don't ever change. Like, I love
Right.
everything about you, and I definitely understand. There does seem to be this pressure that you have. There's only one way to do it,
Right.
and you have to. And it seems like the only way to do it is you have
Hmm.
to do it all. You have to
Right.
do it all amazing. But like the truth is, usually you have people that are really good performers. You might have people
Yeah.
who look really good, can't do much else. But
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Another. Go ahead.
I mean, I guess another thing I wanted to also say is, I mean, like, there's definitely still a lot of disparities, I think, between drag queens and also female queens as well as drag kings. Like, I mean, there still needs to be more representation across the drag world, and that
Mhm.
includes on drag shows that promote drag, that include kings and women who are doing queens and men who are doing king personas, and also people who are performing as queens, which are kind of in the non-binary world.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally hear that because there's just not enough of that. No, one of the things I'm excited about is I tried to also bring a little diversity into the folks here. So we do have some I don't know how people identify, but people like to call either bio queens or faux queens or
Right.
like kings or whatever. But I think that's the amazing thing is that really anyone can do drag. And you can do drag in so many ways. And I know so many people and you have actually more than, like, you're not just a drag queen. You also have, you have another persona, right?
Right. Yeah, I do have a king persona. His name is Woodcock Johnson.
All right. How it,
Um,
how is it for you to do both, I guess, gendered sides of the drag? Is there a difference for you in the experience?
um, I'd say the preparation can be different. It really, but I mean, I find that in many ways, like when I do Menorah, like I'm already kind of going really outside of my out of normalcy. With Woodcock Johnson, I guess I do have a little bit of I do add a lot of weirdness. I haven't really thought about it, but I do know that it's nice that I don't have to wear high heels sometimes when I go as Woodcock.
Right.
Um,
Did you, one of the questions, there's a question from Linda. Linda asks, what do you think about the drag queen shows on TV that do makeovers on people?
well, I haven't seen those yet.
Like I don't know if they're referring to like the We're Here with like Bob the drag queen and Shangela and Eureka. They travel around to small towns.
I think
Or
it's
like,
absolutely. I think it's wonderful that we have drag queens like that. Drag personas are being recognizable outside of the big cities and into smaller, more conservative areas.
I think the great thing about like the We're Here is that they're going to these communities and they're not going to like take over
Right.
or to show, like, I think they really I think they kind of approach it with a little bit of humility, and they're really working with folks to try to make them kind of the leaders with it, like develop their skills or maybe even use a little bit of their influence to kind of build up the community a little bit, which has been pretty great. But I don't know if you were also mentioning, have you seen Celebrity Drag Race?
I did see Celebrity Drag Race. I thought it was good. I mean, there were a lot of the celebrities were people I didn't know very well. I mean, I was excited to see Vanessa Williams and the guy who was the doctor in Schitt's Creek. Like they were the most recognizable people. Oh, and Alex Newell. I loved Glee.
Alex is so great.
But I mean, I do like how drag makes me explore things a little bit more. Like before drag, I did not have any interest in makeup, and I enjoyed like looking at clothes. I mean, I loved drawing dresses when I was a kid, but I never thought of it seriously as that I'd be doing it. I always thought like before I did drag that I wanted to get back to doing theater, like and stage plays, and I'm also finding that I really like doing drag as another form of theater, as a performance. And it's really nice. Like I can do a full story in 5 minutes or less.
Angel asks, what advice would you have for younger queens? I don't know if that's a young queen or just a queen that's new.
I'd say, I mean, my attitude is try it out. I mean, go with what you have. I mean, don't be afraid to look bad. I mean, looking bad is part of the process, and beauty is always in the eye of the beholder. And it's not just about the wigs you wear or the makeup. It's about show your heart. Like, be who you are, whether or not you're having a completely different persona than who you are outside drag, or what you see yourself. Like, go out there, try things out. We're all as like creative people, like we're always evolving and always changing and always exploring new things. There's always something new to try out and to experiment with.
I think that's great advice. I know that was something that kept me for years from doing drag, because I just felt like, I had to wait till it was like all perfect, but I didn't do anything to get good at it. So like, How could I even get out of it? And a drag queen friend of mine, she had passed away, and I was just like, she was beautiful, and I was like, I'm just going to do it. Like, and that from then it just kind of built.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like you just got to just start trying it out, and just keep trying it out and have fun with it. Mm-hmm. And just focus on doing it for yourself and not for anyone else. And that's the advice I'd say for anybody who wants to try it, who wants to start it out.
Yeah, I feel like the best times that I have or feel about it is when I'm affected by what I'm doing, mm-hmm. And the audience getting affected as well is great. But I think there's also, I don't know, I just love it when we both can have some sort of experience. What would you say is the most rewarding part of your experience as a drag performer, Jasper?
I'd say the best part about performing in drag has been, for me, it's a sense of disbelief that I'm really doing this when I'm getting ready, and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm really doing this. This is really who I am now. And like that sense of disbelief that I'm really doing this. And then the next part is, I always get nervous before I go on stage. But the best part is definitely, I guess it's the audience interaction with people that I enjoy, and also just being able to let something outside of myself, and getting to be in the moment of doing it, and then the sense of relief when it's over.
Right. I love this question too, and it's something I wanted to bring up. One of the things that I love about you is, like, I know that you're a part of a family, and you have like some wonderful people who are part of your family. Do you want to talk a little bit about what it's like to have a drag family?
So my drag parents are Mad Dog 2020 and Meshuggah. Mm-hmm. And they are wonderful at, they help you with your makeup, but also with supporting you, whether it's stuff around drag or not around drag, and get-togethers. It's like really the sense of belonging, because I find that I need that kind of familial structure and that sense of community. I think like when I was younger, like I didn't really have that when it came to exploring the LGBTQ community when I was in my early 20s. And it felt like once I got my drag family, like it felt like I felt more connected and more secure in that form of support as a drag performer.
Fantastic. Emily asked, how did you gain the confidence to really come out? And do you have support or mentors to help you?
Out of the closet, or
come out around sexual orientation, or about, I know doing drag, sometimes it is there is kind of a coming out process. Maybe not everybody knows.
When I first came out, I was 21 and living in Orange County at the time. And at the time I was also struggling with self-image, around my weight. I was very overweight, 20 something when I was younger. And Um, in Orange County, I didn't really know that many gay people. And like the first gay person I met, like he insisted that I go with him up to West Hollywood and then Vegas in one weekend. And for me, it was overwhelming being in West Hollywood. And, I lived my whole life in Garden Grove and was going to a community college in Huntington Beach, which was on the more conservative side. And so I didn't know what to expect. And I had also internalized a lot of messages that were out there around gay people. And even though I grew up in a fairly liberal Jewish family, you still internalize those messages. And people's biggest concerns when I came out was like, oh my God, I'm so worried about you getting hurt. So worried about you getting HIV and AIDS. I didn't seek out a mentor until I was back in Orange County after 3 years at SF State. And that was, and having that group of friends after a men's group meeting, and also just going out independently to like do things like grabbing lunch or going for coffee or seeing plays, like that really helped me establish a sense of community with Orange County's LGBT scene. And like also I was selective about where I'm out. Like I was working at a school that I was new to, and I didn't know how people were going to feel about LGBTQ people. Actually, I did find out that one of my colleagues who, when I was right after Prop 8 passed, I was passing out information for people to help work on repealing Prop 8, and she did write to me to not send her more information because she was so strongly in favor of Prop 8. I said, okay, I'll do that. But now, in looking back, I wish I had said something differently.
We're getting lots of love in the comments, so I just wanted to pass that on to you. Love to you and encouragement. There was my mind went. Phew. We just have like a few more minutes. One of the things I did want to bring up is that Menorah's Venmo is also in the Facebook comments. So if you'd like to send her a tip, please do. This is kind of we've been trying to emerge this idea of, drag and spirituality. So it's kind of like drag show meets church, maybe meets talk show. So it's part of the way to kind of interlace the two. Is there anything else that you would like to share, Menorah, or did you have any questions or comments?
I'm just really glad to do this. I guess, I find that like spirituality is something that not to be afraid of, and you can be spiritual without being religious or even believing in God. That's something I'm really grateful I've learned about in recovery is that you don't need to have a punitive higher power, that you can make a higher power what you need it to be. I'm looking at even to this day, like so many people who are, I might offend some people who are watching this, but who are Trump supporters. And I'm like, that is not spirituality. That's just using God as a walking stick to carry hate. And I don't believe that's what true spirituality is. That's just using fear and hate.
Yeah.
As something
you feel like your drag is in alignment with like your spirituality? Does it feel like it's I think for some people, so many things are compartmentalized. And one of the things that this topic is kind of on integration and oneness. It's kind of this idea of how can we be all of our parts I find that I rely on my higher power a lot to get to do things. Because one of the things I've learned about is that in my recovery journey around and spirituality is that I am very driven by fear to be inactive or to turn away. And
For me, and like there are moments when somebody will be posting out about a show they want to do, and I'll be like, oh, that sounds like fun, but then I'll be absolutely terrified to ask about doing it, and like I'll have to like turn to my higher power, and like my higher power doesn't necessarily relieve the fear, but it helps me work through the fear to do things, and also work through when I realize that I need to take a step back or I need to take a step forward on something.
Right. Yeah, that's great. I think I've talked with a few folks, and it's like they feel like the sexuality has to. That was something too I was curious about, if you don't mind me asking.
Sure.
Does the and I don't know like your relationship status or anything like that, but how does drag and or spirituality kind of play out in your romantic or dating life or sex life?
Well, right now I'm single. As of right now, my most intimate partner lately has been my pillow.
All right.
And right now I'm holding off on any kind of really going out with anyone until things have gotten better, which is hard at times. But there was always a fear about people, especially about men not being interested if they knew I was a drag queen.
Right.
And I do have some things like, I do realize I need someone who is sexually compatible with me, but they also need to be clean and sober with me and be respectful and my boundaries around food and.
Right. They have to be able to handle all of your, like so you don't have to leave some part of yourself out.
Right.
To be in relationship with them.
Yeah. I don't like being sexually active in drag. But I have used sexually charged themes in drag in the past. Sometimes for what I always thought, sometimes for comedic, intentionally, and sometimes unintentionally for comedic.
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. I know for me, that's been a very weird situation. I think as a queer trans person, right. Sometimes being spiritual is kind of pushed aside, and then also doing drag, then it's that's also kind of pushed aside. So I was curious, and I've had moments in my life where I've hidden it, or I've chosen not, my room looks like a drag queen lives here. So right. I don't have any house guests over in my bed. As part of that, just kind of fear of having to kind of I guess keep parts of myself away in order to experience certain aspects. So I was just curious how other folks navigate that.
I feel like everything is connected with each other. I work in education, and before the pandemic, when we would do a monthly fundraiser at Oasis for a drag show, and I would perform there a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes the students understand that I am gay, and a couple of my other colleagues are gay, but they may not always understand what that might mean, or they might just see it as goofy. And also I've always found that especially with youth, when it comes to making up to costuming and doing make-believe, sometimes kids will just defy gender norms. And gender norms really are kind of just bullshit. I don't like that we do put people into boxes, as we really need to be unboxed as much as possible so we can be free to be who we are.
That should be a t-shirt, unboxed. Get unboxed. All right. Well, we're coming up right at the hour mark. So it's about to close out. Do you have any last comment or statement?
I am really grateful that we got to be this. And I guess I would say is, if you're considering trying out drag or any kind of creative art form, go for it. Don't worry about Don't worry about what the results will be. Just do it for yourself, and just to let yourself let loose. And I guess like, I mean, like, find like if the religion or the spiritual realm you were raised in is not working for you, find something else, whatever that may be. And it's not always about God. Sometimes it's about intuition. What it comes down to sometimes.
Right. Having family, having people who kind of lift you up and elevate you, and
exactly, find the people that are gonna bring you up.
Definitely. I think that's the good way to go out. I want to thank you so much for being a part of this conversation tonight. I was really excited that you said yes, and I was really excited just to get to know you a little bit more.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for everyone coming tonight and joining us. The questions were fantastic. And thank you to Mark and Perry behind the scenes for all the work that allows us to look good. And take care. Love you. Thanks. See you next time.
All right. See you soon.
You have just completed one of 12 in a series of drag and spirituality in the Bay Area. Please stay tuned to listen to the next interview. Also, please subscribe and comment or review. Let us know what you're thinking about the series and what you'd like to see more of. Thank you. Bye-bye.